let's talk about the 49ers 2024 season. So back in May, our predictions for the 49ers were uh, I had the floor at 10-7. My prediction was 14-3, and my ceiling was 15-2. Your
Man.
floor, your floor was 11-6. Your prediction was
Wow.
13-4, and your ceiling was 15-2.
Wow. So wait, my floor was higher than yours?
Yes.
Oh man. I like you said yours first and I was like, "Oh man. I think that might go down a little bit." Then I heard mine, I was like, "Oh." So,
Yeah. So, question, how are you feeling about that record prediction?
okay, my record prediction was 13-3.
13-4.
Oh, 13, sorry, yes. Um yeah, I would say pretty much everything except for the ceiling goes down a little bit. I think the ceiling is still there. If they got Ayuk and Trent Williams in within the next week and a half, the ceiling is perfectly fine if they stay healthy, right?
Mhm.
Because I think like it's weird, like the whole Super Bowl hangover thing. It's like, man, it does, it's a thing, you know. But at the same time, like I feel like coming off a Super Bowl loss, it sucks because it's like, oh, Shanahan, this is all that ever happened. He blows the lead every time, blah blah blah. I could see some people coming out of that like with this like ominous, depressed feeling of like it'll never happen, you know. But I feel like the players have like a different mentality than say the fans. Of like for the fans, it's like, no, I can't see it with Shanahan anymore, and I can't blame anybody for thinking that. For the players, it's like we're still just as good. We're gonna do it, and that's what it kind of has to be. And I like not to disagree with anybody earlier. It's just I would imagine a you know why am I what the hell Warner Fred Warner, a Nick Bosa, a Brock Purdy, a Debo Samuel, anybody that's on the field right now, like I could see how the spirits are low or whatever. It's probably because there's a lot of distraction with Trent Williams and especially Ayuk right now, and that just getting the media spotlight, right? I can see all of that and like, oh, McCaffrey's hurt. But again, if everybody's healthy and everybody's there, I, they're still a great team, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So again, the ceiling stays, which was what, 14 is what I had?
No, 15 and
15?
2.
Oh, 15-2. Oh, brother. No, it's going down to 14.
Okay.
Ceiling would be 14 wins. Uh, Floor, I will say the Niners floor. I mean, okay. Are we assuming full health here with our predictions?
I'd say you kind of have to, but like, let's
Yeah.
just say they lose a guy here or there.
Yeah, I mean that's the tough part is like, okay, the floor could be without Ayuk and Williams, or the floor could be without Purdy. Say, knock on wood, right? Something happens, or McCaffrey, right? Well, now the floor is way lower. But I'll just say my realistic floor of like, at worst, Ayuk and Trent Williams miss a game or two. My floor is 9 wins.
Mhm.
What was it last
Um,
time?
11 wins. So now
Yeah,
you're
I'm
at
comfortable. I'm comfortable with 9 as my floor. And
comfortable with
then
9-11. Good job, Michael.
that's a negative. And then my genuine Niners season win loss prediction would be 11 wins, right in the middle. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's dumb, but I guess a part of me probably wants to say 12, but my ceiling is 13?
Your
Or no,
ceiling is now 14.
14. You know what? It's tough. All right, for the Raiders, I said 8.5 wins.
Yes.
I took the easy road and I went right in the middle. I'll do the same thing here. 11.5. That's my
11 and
prediction.
a
It's
half for your prediction.
11.5, aka I'm probably leaning 11, but 12. I mean, if you know, at full capacity, full health, 12 wins is so attainable for this team. It's not even funny.
Mhm.
So I'll say 11.5.
Okay, so let me go ahead and jump in real quick. Real quick, do you want to keep the ceiling at 14? 14 wins?
Yeah, I'll keep it there.
Okay. So back in May, I just want to repeat the floor was 10-7, prediction 14-3, ceiling 15-2. The further and further that we've got into the off season, I sort of feel like, man, this is giving me Super Bowl hangover vibes. I don't know what it is, but this team is just too talented, I think, at full health to lose that many games. So my prediction is 11-6 because I still think that they'll be good and they'll be in the mix. And I want to say that was even Grant's prediction as well, like an 11-win team, make it kind of far in the playoffs. And he predicted that they would not win the Super Bowl. I haven't thought about whether or not they're going to win the Super Bowl, but all the vibes that I have been getting, like, even if you are the most diehard 49er fan, I don't know how you can like be comfortable with like, oh, they're in limbo with two of their star players. They don't know if they'll have Trent Williams or when they'll have him, and they don't know if they're going to have Brandon Ayuk at all. And if they don't have Ayuk, what are we going to get in return for him that's going to help us this year? Anything, And then another thing that we haven't even spoken about is, Ricky Pearsall. It just came out, I want to say yesterday, that he has had a shoulder injury, dating back to before when they drafted him. And that's kind of what's been holding him out. And so I'm just like, why would you pick him? You had other guys there. You had Ladd McConkey. You could have gone with the secondary, which, to their credit, they found Renardo Green, who looks great. I don't know. So it might be another year where we don't get much contribution out of the first round. But, the 49ers have done fine the past several years without that. I'd say my prediction, 11-6. My floor now is a losing record. If things go south, like 2020, guys miss games. The Niners are already dealing with injuries. I don't think that they would, get that much of bad luck like they got in 2020. But, teams just kind of, we've seen Super Bowl hangovers with many teams. They can just be kind of off and not make the playoffs. And so I've got the 49ers, their floor, if things go wrong, at 8-9. Like, let's just say a couple pivotal players go down. And that's a losing record. But in the NFC, that might still make a wild card spot. Not in the AFC, but maybe in the NFC. But, I could just see where it's like, man, how did we drop that game? Or we lost a close one possession game there. And it's just like, the players in the locker room, oh, I'm not too worried. We know with this team that we can pull it together. Like I saw that firsthand with, Jim Harbaugh's last year. Like, I specifically remember the press conference where Frank Gore is like, yeah, this is the most talented team that I've ever been a part of. Of course, we're going to make the playoffs, but they didn't. And they lost, close games. And it's like that was their last dance. Could this be the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan's last dance? I don't know. Like, I think we will keep most of the core, but I think worst case scenario, they have a losing record, but they're like on the cusp of 500. I think in the worst case scenario. Their ceiling, I'm going to go. I had it at 15-2 last time. I'm going to just bump it down one because I think if you told me everything went, correct this season, I'm like, okay, so they probably dropped like 3 games. Just here and there. They just dropped 3 games. Doesn't matter how it happened. Best case scenario, this team could be the 1 seed in the NFC, and we wouldn't even blink an eye. Like last year, we had concerns that the Niners weren't going to be that good with, Purdy coming back with his elbow. I do remember having those concerns and just, in the preseason, the 49ers didn't do well against the Raiders week 1 of the preseason. And it's like, well, there's no run defense, which ended up being a factor in the season. But they started 5-0 after their struggles in the preseason. But it seemed like the starters were ready to play. And this year, it doesn't seem, everything expressed about the 49ers, and it could just be coverage, and everybody covering the team can be wrong. It just seems like they are exhausted and like maybe still grieving the loss of the Super Bowl, which would point to a Super Bowl hangover. But this team, I still think with all that talent, no less than 8 wins. I'd be shocked if they went like, I could not imagine a scenario where this team is 4-13 or whatever. There's just no way. There's no way.
At full health, there's no way. But a couple of injuries, and suddenly, that's the same as the year that Garoppolo went down, and you guys got Nick Bosa out of it. But again, that was the quarterback going down. I don't mean this to discredit Purdy. I think if Purdy, again, knock on wood, if the worst case scenario for Purdy happens, and he's out, practically this season, I still think if McCaffrey's healthy, you could still win 8 to 9 games, But hopefully they're healthy, and hopefully they don't have this Super Bowl hangover that, we're kind of like sitting here, kind of like feeling the vibe of, hopefully it's not that.
Yeah, no, I agree. If Purdy's healthy, I don't see how they don't win at least 8 or 9 games.
Oh, I said McCaffrey, but the same goes for Purdy. Yes, if like McCaffrey were to get worst case scenarioed, but Purdy's still in, 8 to 9 wins for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So
let's talk about the breakout players in 2024. Yeah. Do you want to start this off, or do you want me? I'll just kick off before you steal my guy. My guy for a breakout player is going to be Dominic Puni. I think I've seen a couple, glimpses in the preseason. I haven't seen anything bad, honestly. I think if he is going to be playing right guard, like I said, I have not seen a bad play out of him so far. I think he's a dog. I'm not saying he's going to be perfect in the regular season, but so far so good. Fingers crossed. I think he could be, exactly what this offensive line needed. And do you remember me complaining during the draft, offensive line, what are you doing? Puni seems like, the sleeper that they were hoping for.
Yep.
And that was a 3rd round player, so not necessarily a sleeper, but, he's playing so far at a high level. Yeah. So far, so good.
That's good. I won't get back on the Raiders. Did you want to give a second guy, kind of like the same as the Raiders, or?
I'll let you go while I think about it. Because
right.
I was all in on him.
Yeah. Do I even have 2 guys here? I'll tell you what, I have one guy for sure. And I thought you were going to say him because you said, before you steal my guy. For me, it's Jair Brown. And I don't mean this for Niner fans, breaking out to them. I think Niner fans know, dude, Jair Brown's pretty nice. I think in the same breath as Trevon Merrick, where this season he's going to put himself in the spotlight for the NFL. And I think I can see Trevon Merrick and Jair Brown both making their first Pro Bowls as in their career this season.
Mm-hmm. I got 3 more guys. Can I name them?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
All right. Juwan Jennings, if Brandon Ayuk is not on the team, I could see where Juwan Jennings has to step up. I know they drafted Ricky Pearsall, but we never exactly know. I think Ayuk not being on the field, while he's a different skill set than Juwan Jennings is, I think that he will just naturally see the field a lot more often. So I could see him not necessarily being like a team MVP, but he played his best football, I'd say, in the playoffs last year. You eliminate somebody who's taking a share of the targets, he might see a lot more targets. He's a good player, Jauan Jennings. Another breakout candidate I have is Jordan Mason.
Yep.
Are the 49ers going to do what they did with McCaffrey last year? Probably. Is Elijah Mitchell going to be the next person in line anymore? I don't think so. I think Jordan Mason, I think he's clearly the best, the better running back. It's just a matter of whether he knows all the protections and everything. Because I do know that, like, why am I forgetting the coach's name? I think it's Bobby Turner, the running back coach. He was sort of asked after Jordan Mason talked about the reason why he wasn't seeing the field was because he wasn't taking the study aspect of the game as seriously as they needed him to. So, he's always been a tremendous talent, but it's just like, knowing the protections, which is like half the job at running back. So I could see Jordan Mason. And then my last guy for breakouts could be Renardo Green. And Renardo Green I think he's going to be a starting corner, for the team. And I could see a scenario where Charvarius Ward and Diamador Lenore, both the starting corners right now, are on 1-year deals. I could see a scenario where they do not need to be brought back because Renardo Green shows the 49ers something this year that, he can be solid. Those are my breakout players. Do you have anyone else?
I was going to actually bring up 3 guys, and they're all rookies, and you just named one of them, in Renardo Green. I guess my thinking with him was I could see a scenario where they need a third or second corner on any given game or play, and he comes in and just, like, plays well, and suddenly it's like, yeah, you're our second corner now, or at the very least by the end of the season, right? The other 2 would be what Grant mentioned earlier of, like, well, if whatever scenario plays out with the receivers and we need another receiver on the field, if Ricky Pearsall can't get on the field, Jacob Cowing is absolutely a breakout choice. And then my last pick here would be Malik Mustafa, or Malik Mustafa, however you say it. But I don't know how often he's going to get on the field. He seems like kind of the perfect box safety, like to bring in on like nickel packages and whatnot, like obvious rushing downs or whatnot. But I think in the preseason he played so well that he definitely deserves to see the field. I don't know. Do you know if he's projected to be the starting safety opposite Jair Brown, or probably not yet?
Well, I think it's still a little unclear on when Hufanga is going to be able to come back. So I think that he or George Odom would probably be starting. Yeah. George Odom has apparently had a pretty good camp, has had a couple interceptions, but I mean, I don't know. It's just a matter of if they're going to be able to entrust a rookie back there.
Yeah.
Because Hufanga was good. Hufanga was good his rookie year, but it was still Jaquiski Tart back there. And then Jair Brown was good, but it was still what's his face? Tayshaun Gibson.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then Jair Brown, once he finally saw the field, he was solid.
Yeah.
And I thought of other breakout players. So I would say one of them is like I wouldn't necessarily say I'm predicting them to be like a Pro Bowl kind of player, but with this new kickoff rule, I think I called it. Isaac Guerendo is going to be the kickoff returner.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think he's perfect for, what they need him to do. He's a big body back who can run fast.
4.4 speed. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I mean, that was an interesting pick at the time. I think it just makes too much sense to like if they don't feel that they need Elijah Mitchell anymore, you can let him go and keep the younger guys, Jordan Mason being the number 2. And then from what I saw in the Raider game, I don't know if it was just because they wanted to give Guerrero snaps, but they were playing him pretty early on into the game, almost to suggest that maybe he's the third running back, or maybe he's behind Mitchell. Who knows? We'll see in a couple days. And then you have Cody Schrader. And I don't know if you feel like Cody Schrader's worth keeping, but my hunch would be he probably played too well to where if you cut him, he might not land on your practice squad.
Schrader?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they might try to stash him on the practice squad, but, we'll see. We have to see if, Shanahan is going to want to keep Elijah Mitchell or, just it's going to be McCaffrey, Mason, Guerrero, and Schrader, and if he's going to want to cut ties with Mitchell since he only has 1 year left on his deal and, he's kind of struggled to stay healthy the past couple of years. Well, really, I feel like Mitchell, besides that one season where he was the bell cow, has dealt with injuries. Like every season, it feels like. So,
yeah.
My last breakout player, or at least the last one that's off the top of my head right now, not saying that he's going to be the best linebacker on the team, but a player that I think is going to shine in absence of Dre Greenlaw, I think will be D. Winters. I think D. Winters, I don't know. He showed glimpses in the preseason. I just have a good feeling about him.
Yeah. And I guess my last breakout guy, not to keep going back and forth on this, but this would probably be more of a breakout to the fans sort of vibe. I don't know if he'd be like a Pro Bowler, but whenever he gets healthy, Leonard Floyd, I could see him being solid on this defense opposite Nick Bosa.
I thought he was done, dude. That knee injury.
Honestly, were you watching the Niners coverage of the game?
Yeah, so at first it was on Cron 4, and then I was like, is there another channel for this? Like, I was like, I don't want to watch it on the Raider channel if I don't have to. No offense.
Yeah, no, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, if you're trying to look out for players on your team, it's not cool to watch it on the other team's network because they're going to be focusing on their players. For example, when his injury happened, they probably cut the camera to like Dylan Lobby and they just started talking about him. I didn't even know he was hurt.
No,
until it was like, we're going to cut to a commercial break and it's like, da-da-dun, 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 dun-dun. It's showing him just laying on the ground or whatever. Like, I don't really know exactly. I don't remember exactly how it went, but.
Bro, I was like, that's an easy MCL right there, dude. Like, it was like he was going to the ground and then another player, like a lineman, landed in his leg, on top of his leg at an angle, and he immediately grabbed his knee. And it's like, well, that was short-lived. And then I started, obviously right now I'm thinking about that question that you asked Grant earlier about did Shanahan keep the starters in for too long? That was kind of early into the game, but still it's like keeping your
but still the fact that they were still in the second quarter against third stringers, I was just like, wow, what is the point here? But anyways, let's move on to the MVPs.
Real quick before we move on to the MVPs, the numbers is tuning back into the channel, says salute nation. 49ers, another game they couldn't win in Allegiant. Raider Nation for life. Well, I mean, double-edged sword. The nation couldn't beat us either. We're all winners.
That was something I meant to mention to Grant was like, at the very beginning and saying like, was that the best preseason game ever? It was just the fact that it ended in a tie, and that never happens. Like, teams purposefully don't try to tie the game. But then at the end, like, the fourth string quarterback for the Raiders, Carter Bradley, had a really nice drive on the Niners. And I was literally sitting there like, this is extremely fun to watch. I think it was Ramel Keaton got like a really sick one-handed catch. They marched down the field, but then it was like third down, 20 seconds left. I think you and I texted about it. It was like interesting choice on like the timing of it and all that. But, they opted to kick the field goal. And that caused it to be a tie with like 16 seconds left. And then we had like the crazy Fumblerooski play at the end. It was a fun game. And personally, I had a bet with my uncle, who's a Niner fan, to where whoever's team lost the game would have to buy a 6-pack of beer for the other person. So now I don't know what the hell we're doing. You can't buy a 3-pack. So
Are
I'll have to talk
are
to
you
him.
guys both? Well, you could. Well, all right. I was just thinking like I've seen at Safeway they have like the tall beers where it's like
I was gonna say,
two for $8, and like you
yeah,
just you get
we should
those.
both
But
buy tall boys for each other. Yeah,
why
I was
don't
literally gonna say that.
I mean you guys could both buy 6 packs and like not drive home. One you just stay over or he stays
Yeah,
over.
yeah. No, I would definitely be up at his house. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll figure it out when I see him. But
Yeah.
it was
I
just funny.
mean, feel free to drink all those beers before we draft on Saturday.
Absolutely not. I
Mhm.
will be enjoying those beers the following weekend when I go up to my uncle's house.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
whatever, loser. 49ers 2024 team MVP. Mike, do you want to start off?
I might as well start off. You're the Niner fan, so I think your opinion probably matters a little more, for lack of a better term. MVP, I could go a lot of directions here. I would say, like, to shortlist it for myself, I think last season I said Trent Williams. I want to say. Um, Obviously, Christian McCaffrey's a great choice. Brock Purdy is kind of the obvious because he's a quarterback, right? I mean, currently with everything going on, Brandon Ayuk is kind of an interesting way to take this. Um, the MVP is Kyle Shanahan. No, no. Um, I'll say, well, two other guys. Fred Warner would be a great option,
The MVP
and
is
Nick
Sourdough
Bosa.
Sam.
Yeah, it's the Gold Rush girls. It's all of them.
Hey, you said it, not me.
Yeah. But Nick Bosa, um, and then I'd say the dark horse candidate for me would be like Charvarius Ward. I already chose Jerry Brown as my breakout. I think the MVP. This is year 3 for Brock Purdy,
Yeah, this is year 3.
right? And then after the season, going into next offseason, is when he first becomes eligible for a contract. And next year, obviously being year 4, there's no 5th-year option, so he's a quarterback. You should get it done ASAP. I guess where my head was just going there was like, will Brock Purdy treat this as a contract year? But really, I don't think he's that type of player. Like wide receivers and running backs, it's like, oh, contract year, I got to show out. And then they get the money, and it's kind of like Purdy, I think he plays the same all the time. Like he's just the same guy. And again, quarterback is the easy answer here. Like I said last year, I went with Trent Williams, so I don't want to do the same thing. I'm going to go Christian McCaffrey. I think the health really does. His health really does matter for the success of this team. Although Jordan Mason looks great in the preseason, and he would be a perfectly fine, for a couple of weeks, sort of fill it in sort of guy. But I mean, we saw how game changing McCaffrey was last year. You take that away, and it's just different. So I'm going to go
Mhm.
McCaffrey.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit of a different direction, because I do think the offense is going to operate under McCaffrey, or operate through McCaffrey again, like it did this previous season. But I think if McCaffrey, knock on wood, were to go down, I still think the 49ers would still have a shot at a Super Bowl run so long as, the entire team is, together and playing well. Because I think Jordan Mason is good. I honestly think the 49ers should use both backs. Like, I mean, this
Yes.
might sound crazy, but I think McCaffrey can get them down to the goal line and then stick in Jordan Mason to get those touchdowns. That's easy money.
Yeah.
Like, so I mean, they're not going to do that because McCaffrey, I mean, you'd probably have to drag him off the field, while he's like scratching and clawing the grass on his way out because he doesn't want to get subbed out. But yeah, I'm going to go in a little bit of a different direction. I'm not even going to say Trent Williams, even though he's by far their best offensive lineman. I think that as long as Brock Purdy is healthy, the 49ers have a chance to win the Super Bowl. And if he is not healthy, they have no chance to win the Super Bowl. Yeah. I think any other player on the team might be replaceable outside of Trent Williams, but 31 other teams don't have Trent Williams. You know what I mean? And the 49ers might not have him going into the season. We'll see how that contract dispute plays out. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say that since I think their Super Bowl odds depend on Brock Purdy, because I don't think Brandon Allen is going to win them a Super Bowl. I don't think Josh Dobbs is going to win them a Super Bowl. I think he can come in and win a couple games. I don't know exactly what Tanner Mordecai could bring to the table. For all I know, Tanner Mordecai is the next Brock Purdy, for all I know. But everything that I know right now, I would say the one irreplaceable guy is the person putting everything together and distributing the passes. Team MVP, I think is going to be Brock Purdy this year. He's going to get a massive extension next year. And I guess my runner-up, and this really kind of depends on the way the Ayuk situation plays out, but I could see the team MVP being Deebo Samuel because he's literally been there like every day working his ass off in training camp and like looks in shape. Grant even said I think when we were talking about Trent Williams, not being there, Grant's like, Deebo's been there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see where this might be the scenario where Deebo finally locks back in and puts the team back on his back. Maybe not the way that he did in 2021, but maybe in a different way. Because if Ayuk's not on the team anymore, he'll probably get more of the receiving volume. George Kittle will probably have to step up more. But a lot is yet to be seen because we don't have the answers of what's going to happen, with that contract. It's huge. Yeah. It's huge. And we're less than 2 weeks away from football.
Yes, indeed.
Yep. But really, those are I feel pretty good about those two picks. Fred Warner would probably be a close third because they already lost Dre Greenlaw. I like D Winters, but I don't know if, knock on wood, if Fred Warner had to go down, can D Winters go in there and call plays for the defense? He's a second-year player,
Yeah, nobody's going to replace Fred Warner. So,
and I guess the argument would be Fred Warner's second year was like his big jump to stardom. 2019 was his year, but he had Quan Alexander, I think, healthy up until halfway. So you know what? Maybe D Winters is the next Fred Warner, but those are the three guys that I'm picking. Do you have anything else that you want to say about that?
No, I got nothing. I guess the guys that I really explained the most were probably, obviously McCaffrey was my choice, but I started with Purdy and why you might pick him. Just he's the quarterback. And, I think the wise decision is Purdy simply because we saw it against the Eagles 2 years ago in the championship game. Once he was out, throw it out the window. And there's no backup for you guys right now. Josh Dobbs is cool. Allen and then Mordecai. If he hits waivers, the Raiders better put a waiver claim in, But regardless, there's no guy sitting there backing up Purdy that says to me, yeah, he could win an NFC championship. No. Mm-hmm. So Purdy's the right choice. I guess I'm glad that I went with something different just to kind of give another guy like a solid explanation or whatnot. But
Yeah,
yeah,
the
I would say
offense
my
is
top.
still going to run through McCaffrey. So I get the
Yes.
pick. I get the pick.
Yeah. 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 So,
Yeah. And
but that's it.
like Forrest Gump once said, and that's all I had to say about that.